Hello and good morning, everyone, to another breakdown video. Oh, I forgot to pull up the Epic Pen actually. And today we're going to be breaking down Hokutofuji's second Jun-Yusho of his career, which you might think he only has two. This is only his second because he is quite a solid sumo wrestler. And uh, when I began watching sumo, he would have this trend of, performing very well from the lower single digit ranks. And then once he faces the Sanyaku, he would start losing and then fall back down and just kind of yo yo, elevator, whatever you want to call it, between those two ranks. Uh, and then, that kind of mellowed out. We can actually take a look at his records, and the reason why I'm adding a little bit more history to Hokuto Fuji is because this is the first time we're gonna be breaking down his sumo. So here we are. He is from Nippon Sports Science University under Hakaku Stable, and you might know a lot more about him if you watch a lot of Chris Sumo videos, because I do know that he seems to have a soft spot for Hokuto Fuji. Always talks about how he was a great university sumo wrestler, but never really hit the mark. He does have a bunch of Keen Boshi, though. Let's see, four by 2019, and then of course there were no Yokozuna to really take advantage of. But 14 Boshi in his career, a couple of special prizes. His first Jun-Yusho was all the way back in 2017, so 6 years ago when 25. Maybe people thought there was a bit higher hopes for him back then, but now at the age of 31, kind of hoping to see something like a Sado no Umi, Oki no Umi type of veteran where they're going to stick around for a long time. They could show up at any tournament. They're going to be strong no matter what. It's just a matter of trying to beat. With so much experience, it's hard to do that, especially when this old dog learns some new tricks. So we could even see right here. He went. His past year has been miserable. Last July, 6-9. Then from Maegashira 8, 10-5, which he started off 9-0 and then collapsed by the end of it. So there's another example of Hokuto Fuji and his inconsistency, where he would start off really hot, and then, he has to fight former Ozeki Takayasu. He has to fight Tamawashi, who would later go on to win the Yusho. He has to fight the Ozeki Takakeisho. He beats Maegashira 1 and former Komusubi Tokizaru. He loses to the other two Sekiwake. So whenever he does get on a run like that, he starts to lose against the higher ups. And even in some of these more recent 7 and 8s, we could probably take a look. Okay, he loses to Takakeisho, he loses to Mitakeumi, he loses to Wakatakakage, but he beats Shodai because, of course, he would beat Shodai. Let's take a look at this 6-9 from the previous tournament, and this one he wasn't even fighting higher level guys. He wasn't fighting Ozeki and Sekiwake. He was fighting Hirada Umi, Ura, Nishikigi, Nishikigi went on a tear this tournament. Lost to Midori Fuji, lost to Aoyama. Like, the inconsistency with Hokuto Fuji was always his biggest downfall, because his style was the more all-out assault. He was the cannonball, and that's why I would call him the human cannonball. For however many years I've been watching sumo. It's been 4 years now that I've been watching sumo. 3 years that I've been streaming it, and for that entire time, I've been calling him Hokuto Fuji, the human cannonball, because he has one of the most powerful Tachi, and it's very easy to sidestep him, kind of like Takakeisho. But this tournament, and it was this tournament specifically, that he changes his style. Maybe we saw some of it at the last tournament. Maybe I thought, just hand waved it off like, he looks kind of weak this tournament. Definitely not something to write home about. But this tournament, either he perfected that style, air quotes perfected it, or just honed it so much that it was very hard for his opponents to deal with. So let's take a look at how Hokuto Fuji wins all of his matches. As per usual, I'm going to be using blue for our main guy, and then either yellow or pink for his opponent. It's just a matter of whichever color I click on first. So this first match is up against Keen Bozan, and this one, a battle of the young versus the older. Not that 31 is too old, you know, I'm only 29 myself, but definitely older in terms of sumo and combat sport. And well, let's just jump right into it. We're already 5 minutes into the video. We'll be doing the live full speed, and then we'll go over it step by step. Big left step for Hokutofuji. He gets blasted backwards, but then when given the opportunity, he charges straight for the chest again. Nearly thrown right there before pulling himself back and around for the toss down. So this is the beginning of that two-stage rocket that Congo, my co-commentator, coined. Co-commentator coined. Congo co-commentator coined. Say that 20 times fast. But you can see right here, his first step isn't his usual step. He comes out wide with the left foot instead of driving forward like he used to. He comes out wide, possibly to match his opponent, who also goes out wide with his left foot. Not sure why he would do this, or if this is just a part of that new style. But from here, he tries to get to the side. He can't get his left hand inside on the belt. And right after this, Kinbozan stands him up and pushes him very strong. Nice hands up high to the chest. But you have to remember, Hokutofuji does have very good footwork. Not only known for his cannonball Tachi-ai, but also for a lot of spins he does on the Tawada. He has very good footwork and good ring awareness as well. He knows where he is in the ring. And from here, you can see he gets pushed back, and he's going to use this opportunity to lean forward and get that second stage push. And he's going to get the big push. He lands some really solid hands up high to the chest. You can see he's already pulling this one back to go for another attack up high to the chest as well. And it's as long as you keep following up with all of those attacks over and over and over again that you're going to be able to really, you know, solidify your offense. So he keeps landing the attacks, another push to the chest, another push up high, but this is where they both get grabbed. And Kinbozan does a pretty good job of shuffling his feet backwards, shuffling and shuffling, not taking those big steps and allowing himself to go off balance. Whereas Hokutofuji, he's doing the same thing. He's pushing really hard, shuffling those feet forward, getting the hips lower so he can kind of push his belly up into the belly. And his arms are not exactly in the best position, but what's we're going to see him finally get stopped up here. That left foot solid in the ground in the back before being able to slide it. Like, his left foot was here, and then he slides it to his left or right, so he can pull back his own right foot and have a solid squared up stance against his opponent. Now he's fully squared, and this is where you would think, oh, is he going to go for a throw over the hip? Is he going to try to push back against the chest to chest now that he has the outside right on the belt? But what he actually is going to opt for is a pullback and a pull down. So his left foot that he just shifted this way, he's going to shift it all the way back this way. He's going to turn his hips, turn his shoulders, turn his feet, turn his entire body, and put all of that momentum into the belt of Kinbozan with that outside right. And that was something I mentioned in the whole Shorty video. The outside grips seemingly are stronger nowadays than the inside grips, and that's because you can go for a more aggressive throw. All that torque being put into the belt as he just sends Kinbozan off to the side, and what looked like a pretty good back and forth match is eventually won by Hokutofuji, who does give us a spin move in the middle of the ring. 1-0.
I thought Hokutofuji was going to win it earlier.
I thought that Kinbozan had it, right? It looked like it.
Yeah.
It looked perfect for him.
Here we go. Hokutofuji versus Takanosho. Takanosho would eventually go 0-5 before bringing it back somewhat. But Hokutofuji, this is not an opponent that he hasn't seen before, but this is a new style. So what will we see? Another big, wide step to the outside left. Nearly slapped down by Takanosho, but that spin move again, like I was talking about earlier.
So much effort put into that, but he's the one that gets turned around on. Takanosho.
So this is a more clear way to define his new style. He goes up to the face for the slap, takes a big left step, and deflects Takanosho off to the side, straight off the Tachi. Not like, well, I guess Henka-esque because he isn't charging fully straight forward, but then you would have people argue, that's not a Henka, they still met at the Tachi, but I mean, it's still a sidestep. It's not a full Henka, you know what I'm saying, right? But Hokutofuji kind of takes this step to the side, steps far out to the left, swings his back foot around, and deflects Takanosho off to the side. But it's only through Takanosho's footwork that he's able to save himself right on the Tawara. He plants this left foot down against the Tawara and uses that as his base, but he's pretty off balance here. Hokutofuji on the follow-up, you can see he's fully square against the body, but it's a weird target because he's aiming for, you know, the face, the shoulder, his stomach is going to go into the hip of Takanosho. This is just an odd position to be in, and that's going to allow Takanosho to slip away by deflecting Hokutofuji off to the side. And after he does that, he brings it back the other way. So you could see that kind of rocking back and forth. Takanosho deflects him one way and then now pulls him back the other to try to go for a slap down right here. But watch Hokutofuji's feet. Watch the footwork. This one back foot is up high. That's very dangerous. One foot on the ground. You can see he's off balance. He's leaning this way, might fall over, but then he's going to catch himself right there. Perfectly placed right foot. And hops just a little bit. You can see his left foot, he missed it and has to bring it back down. And now he's in a really bad position too, but it's the same position he was just in against Takanosho. So now he's going to take the charge head on. He gets the head wrap around the back of the head, and he really doesn't have anywhere to escape to except in front of him or behind him, which behind him is pretty risky because he doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, and even if he did, that Chonmage would block it. So how does he get out of this situation here where Takanosho looks like he's about to lock in the outside right on the belt and has the inside left pushing on the belly? Well, Hokutofuji is going to, in an unusual move, use this left arm around the head to pull Takanosho away while retreating forward. And that's going to send Takanosho behind him for, you know, that good footwork I was talking about earlier, where Hokutofuji is very used to being able to getting away, spinning around, resetting his stance, even if it is like a tippy toe up on the Tawara. But that's his plan right now. He wants to get away from Takanosho so he can spin around and retake the charge. And because Takanosho doesn't ever get a grip on the belt, he can't follow up on a good attack. Hokutofuji turns his body back to square against Takanosho. You can see hips square, shoulders square, feet are a little off there, but they're both facing his opponent. And it's just a matter of, is he going to get the kick up off the ground? Is he going to get that good footwork that he usually does? While Takanosho up on these tippy toes, as he usually is, those are going to slip out from underneath him like they usually do. And he didn't even need to kick up the legs. He just kind of jolts it back into this little extra space. I forget what this extra space is called, but I know it's there for drainage purposes back when they did sumo outdoors. But just kicks the heel back into this spot, lets Takanosho fall, and he completes his tiny little spin around after the fight is already over. So Hokutofuji, another pretty back and forth match, another exciting match, but it doesn't really lend itself to consistency. The consistency that good sumo wrestlers will use to be great. So, if anything, my only complaint after these first 2 days is that he needs to exert more dominance and have that dominance be consistent throughout a match. So next up, we have Nishiki-Fuji versus Hokutofuji. Here we go, Nishiki-Fuji. Hokutofuji with another big outside left step, and he's going to get taken advantage of and slapped down in the middle of the ring. So what goes wrong for Hokutofuji here? You can see he gets his now new wide outside left step. He's going to keep going for that, probably because he favors his left arm as an offensive weapon and wants to put more force behind that. But you could see his opponent, Nishiki keeps him away from a good push. He uses his left arm to block here, and you can even see Hokutofuji's own right arm is pushed up into his own face. So that's a good parry right there from Nishiki. You can't really tell what the right arm is doing. I think Nishiki right arm is down low on the chest right here. I really wish Albema would stream this stuff in 1080p, but decent start forward for Nishiki, who actually pushes away Hokutofuji, and this is Hokutofuji's chance to go. Now he's going to try that second stage charge, and he's going to get taken advantage of because they're already standing up. Hokutofuji does get that low charge, but then it's an easy step back slap down from the middle of the ring. You could see he's already preparing himself to pull away. He's got the slap to the back, just textbook example of Hataki Komi in the middle of the ring. You can see Hokutofuji's feet are a little too far away. We can kind of deduce the center of his gravity is like maybe right here. His feet all the way too far back. He's going to tumble forward, fall into the ground like your average Aoyama match, and he's going to stumble and fall. So this match, the mistake he made was getting too low on that second charge. And you can see it right here. Getting a little too low, hitting that brick wall that was Nishiki. And then because Nishiki was able to pull back, the feet from Hokutofuji were too far away. And so that's something that you hear me complain about all the time too, is you need to keep your feet underneath you. Look at how far away the feet are from Hokutofuji. They're all the way back here. His upper body is leaning forward about right here, maybe over the white line, maybe a little bit further back, but you're kind of getting my point here. The feet are way too far away, and he's relying on leaning on Nishiki for more force, when you should have your feet much more underneath you and then be able to, bend those knees, kind of like he has this one right here. You bend the knee, coil it up, and then spring forward. But Hokutofuji has that back leg straightened almost as if he's expecting to hit the Tawada already, but a far back defensive stance. And then when you try to convert your defensive stance into an offense, it's just really easy to get taken advantage of. So Hokutofuji making a mistake right there, but he learns from it. Hokutofuji versus veteran Myogiryu. Another wide outside left step for Hokutofuji, and then he goes for the step back slap down. And in this match, you could see that cannonball, like I always talk about, going head down, big charge forward, big step out to the left to try to get dominance with his outside left on the body or on the belt. And it's a really good place to have your hand right up into the armpit, right into the rib cage of your opponent. That's going to be able to push him up and try to get a better second stage push, because when you straighten out your opponent, that's when you can dive back into the chest. They're being stood straight up. But that's not what Myogiryu allows. Myogiryu is able to get a slap to the face up high. And then, after taking one himself, they exchange blows up here. Hokutofuji is going to try to follow up with this left hand once more. He misses it because Myogiryu is stepping back. And now that Myogiryu is stepping back, he's going to do the same thing Hokutofuji did, where he leans forward and tries to get force into Hokutofuji's chest for the charge. And you can even kind of see it right here. Hokutofuji's footing, big left foot forward, right foot back, but the right foot is a lot closer this time. The right foot isn't completely straightened out. The right foot has this bent knee that he can use to drive up forward, whereas Myogiryu, he's kind of sitting back on his weight, on his hips, on his waist. He's got a solid stance with his feet. They are even and lined up and squared with his hips, but his shoulders are far in front now. So now his center of gravity is a little far away from these feet. Whereas Hokutofuji, his center of gravity, you can see his shoulders right here, his hips over here, his feet a wide stance, but they are about, squared up here. But this left foot kind of saves him here because now, the shoulder is even with his left foot. His back right foot is going to be moving forward like these arrows here already suggest. So his stance is a lot more balanced. The only way it isn't is if he gets turned down, towards the stands this way. I can't really draw three-dimensional, but you can see I'm pointing towards the person in the crowd because that's where he would be off balance. Giryu, though, he is just a little off balance, but squared up, and so what Hokutofuji is going to do is pull back for the slap down. And it's not because Myogiryu's stance was terrible or anything. Myogiryu had a good stance, but that one, just that much off balance, Hokutofuji goes for a slap down pullback here, and he's going to be able to get it in the same way that he lost yesterday. So that's really putting it to power, the lessons you learn in a losing match. So nice win for Hokutofuji right there. Recognizing what happened to him and doing the same to his opponent, always a good move. And not really too much else to say about that match. It was kind of standard pullback slap down.
Fuji stamps his feet in.
Next up, Sadano Umi versus Hokutofuji. Another wide step out to the left. Hokutofuji pushing forward, trying to use that. And Sadano Umi trying to push against it, gets spun around and nearly thrown out from behind. But another solid win from Hokutofuji. And this is what happens when Hokutofuji has a strong push against someone that doesn't pull. So you can see in this match, Sadano Umi never really makes an effort to pull, whereas his opponent earlier, Hirado Umi, did. Or not Hirado Umi, Nishiki Fuji. Let me just double check that I got his match loss right, because I don't want to sound stupid in my own video, which I already do all the time. It was Nishiki Fuji. He hasn't even fought Hirado Umi. So here, Sadano Umi does not pull back and pull away, which probably would have been a smart move from Hokutofuji because he does a few of those mistakes that we saw earlier against Nishiki Fuji, where let's watch it full speed again. You can see he's leaning very far forward on this push, and right here, the feet are square, but they're very far back, and that's because he's pushing that upper body forward into Sadano Umi, and now we'll take it slower step by step, but the main theme that happens here is he was exploitable. He could have been taken advantage of, but Sadano Umi didn't recognize it. So Hokutofuji gets the set step out to the left like he has been doing all tournament so far, and he has a solid push. He exchanges the right hand. It was to the throat. Now the left hand is at the throat, and he's going to stumble kind of forward this way as Sadano Umi attempts to get around to the side, but he is able to keep his footing, the most important thing. You can see Sadano Umi is trying to deflect to the side, get to the outside right belt, and Hokutofuji doesn't want that. He doesn't want to give up the belt grip. So he pulls that hip away, pulled that hip back and away, and then pulls the arm up into his own armpit. And that's a level of control that, it's not the best way to control your opponent, but for the situation, it's not a hand on the belt, and it's a solid grip to have. So this is where it's also dangerous for Hokutofuji, because if Sadano Umi recognizes, right about here, that Hokutofuji, his feet are very far back, you can kind of see like the knee is only slightly bent. The knee isn't as bent, like it's not like it was like that a couple days ago. It's more like, this is being his foot. It's more like foot. That's his knee, that's his thigh. That's what his right leg is doing right here. So not the best base to be sitting on. And he's leaning very far forward despite being squared up. So if Sadano Umi recognizes he could just grab the arm and pull back, then that's another loss for Hokutofuji. But Sadano Umi continues to fight push for push. And maybe it's because Hokutofuji has a grip on the arm here, on the elbow. Maybe Hokutofuji is actually pulling him in so he can continue to push forward, continue the attack, and keep himself balanced. Because if he is using Sado no Umi not only as a base to lean on, but also pulling him in as a support, that's a very interesting balance that he's keeping himself up on. Very dangerous balance. Because again, if Sado no Umi just has the strength to pull this away, then Hokutofuji will stumble forward into the ground like he did on day 3. So Hokutofuji pulls himself in now, gets the hands to the chest. Now it's way too late for Sado no Umi to be able to go for a pulling attack. And even though he kind of attempted one, he slips backwards, foot on the Tawada, foot. This is about to slip right out from underneath him. We were complaining about a slippery dohyo early on in the tournament, but those complaints kind of waned a little bit later on in the tournament. So maybe they dried up the dohyo a little bit better for the guys. But this is going to cause Sado no Umi to slip that foot, get turned around, and then from here, really, it's over. Because you can see shoulder being charged into, the side, the ribs of Sado no Umi, the face pounding down on the shoulder blade, and Sado no Umi's balance. Like, you would expect him to just fall to the ground right here, but he does manage to pick himself back up. And, I mean, even then, it's still way over from here. I don't know how he gets this win unless he has some miracle footwork where he could pull this foot around and then use this arm to pull Hokutofuji backwards. But Hokutofuji already has bear hug around the chest locked in. This is how I hug my wife from behind. Really tight hug. And just picks him up and puts him out.
Picks him up over the edge.
So after 5 days, 4-1, not bad, kind of in line with expectations.
Pick up from behind.
I say in line with expectations, even though he struggled for the most part the entire year, even from this rank. Maegashira 7, Maegashira 6, Maegashira 5, all 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 6 and 9. But this is more in line with the expectations that were set for me when I first started watching him. Because, I would see Maegashira 1, 9 and 6, Komusubi 7 and 8, and then Maegashira 2, 11 and 4, Komusubi 4 and 11, Maegashira 5, 9 and 6, Maegashira 2, 6 and 9, Maegashira 4, 11 and 4. And that goes to show the yo-yo. When he's a little bit lower, he does better. When he's a bit higher, he does worse. Maegashira 12, 11 and 4, and then 6 and 9 from Maegashira 4. So you can kind of see that window of yo-yo getting a little bit smaller. But Maegashira 8, September of last year, 10 and 5, and then Maegashira 5 all the way back down to Maegashira 9, and then 12 and 3 from Maegashira 9. So this kind of performance also not really out of the woodwork, because even in some of these losing tournaments, you would have a decent start. So 4-1, not out of the ordinary for Hokutofuji. Next up against Kotoeko. Kotoeko actually meets him chest to chest. He takes a big right step to match the big left step, gets the outside left to Hokutofuji's inside right, and now it's a pure Yotsu battle. But Kotoeko is just a little too small, allows Hokutofuji to get the grip around the back on the belt and throw him down to the ground. So this is an interesting match for Hokutofuji here, because this is the first time he's actually met to the side. And it looks like Kotoeko, he's attempting a slap down right off the Tachi-ai. You can see the left hand up on the arm, the right hand arm locked in around, possibly attempting to get a grip and then pull back for a Kataskashi right off the Tachi-ai. But Hokutofuji does catch with the outside left, and they will be exchanging these grips going into a Yotsu battle. Outside left isn't exactly on the belt for Hokutofuji, but the inside right is, whereas the outside left for Kotoeko is going to be locked in. The inside right, I think that's locked in as well. It's hard to see. It might also be up around the back. That way, it's to force the elbow up into the bicep, which forces Hokutofuji's arm up and away from the belt. So that's why Hokutofuji didn't have a grip on the belt for a lot of the match. You can see right here, Hokutofuji attempts an inside right throw, but Kotoeko has a nice solid base. His right foot all the way out back defensively. Left foot strong out front. I would like to see this right leg get pulled in a little bit, have that knee a little bit bent, a little bit more of a solid base, because right now it still looks like Hokutofuji could still throw with that inside right. But Kotoeko is going to lock in the outside left grip on the belt, pull himself in, and you can see for a few frames that Kotoeko's right arm being locked up into the armpit, whether that's because Hokutofuji is locking it himself or if it's because Kotoeko wants it there to block Hokutofuji from being able to get the outside left. It might be mutual. They might both be doing that same exact thing for the same reasons. So now they're just fighting on this close side, belt to belt. Kotoeko trying to drive the feet into the ground, but you can see he's slipping backwards. Again, slippery dohyo coming into effect here, and that's going to allow Hokutofuji to inch forward, drive forward, and you can watch the feet shuffle. Watch the feet shuffle. Kotoeko being pulled up, pushed back, his foot sliding all the way back, and you could blame slippery dohyo here, but Hokutofuji is also much wider, a little bit taller than he is, probably has a bit more strength than Kotoeko as well. So Kotoeko getting slid back, not exactly out of the ordinary. And then right here, Hokutofuji leans his shoulders down this way, which also tilts Kotoeko down this way, pulling that left foot or right foot all the way up off the ground. Now his only base is that left foot, and from here, Hokutofuji having both feet on the ground, he's going to slap for this outside left, use that to lock it in on the butt crack part of the belt, and then just push out chest to chest. So in this LeoDSumo battle, Kotoeko puts up a good fight as he usually does, but Hokutofuji was simply stronger than him. Had better control with the outside left and or inside right, outside left. So I was right the first time with outside left. But Kotoeko, usually you see a lot more fire in his matches as well. Didn't really see that here. Hokutofuji improving to 5-1 again. Nothing really out of the ordinary here. He has been in these races a few times before, but this is only his second Jun-Yusho. Looks like it's his 6th or 7th double-digit win record in the top division. He seems to get one double-digit record per year, which is kind of the joke we had about Aoyama. Sometimes two. Next up, he's fighting Tsurugisho, who is another strong LeoDSumo guy, but a little more what's the word I wanted to describe Tsurugisho's sumo? Bumbling is too rude, but it's more like strong-footed. Like, he uses his size and throws it around really well, but when he can't do that, then he looks lost. So I guess bumbling might be the right word. Sorry to all the Tsurugisho fans watching this video. But Tsurugisho versus Hokutofuji. How is Tsurugisho going to respond to Hokutofuji's new style? Matches with the outside left, they turn each other to the sides, and Hokutofuji just has the better inside push. Tsurugisho can't get a grip anywhere, tries to pull back, but that's going to allow Hokutofuji to pull back and get the slap down.
It was close, and I don't see them getting up for a mono-e. I think it was Hokutofuji's win, that right here.
Yeah, it was close at the edge here, but these are two big full-bodied men going at it. Right here, you can see outside left is containing the inside right of Tsurugisho. They both match these bigger outside left steps, although Tsurugisho doesn't really go forward with his. He just goes off to the side just a little bit more defensive on this stance, knowing the strength of Hokutofuji. So when Hokutofuji gets the strong push forward, he's again controlling the inside by pulling it up into his armpit and pushing using his own inside left, but they're a little off kilter here. The push is coming outside and his shoulders are more inside, when usually you want the push to be more in line with the shoulder and the chest, your own shoulder and chest. So a little bit of an awkward push there from Hokutofuji, but he's going to use this and a good solid base. See, this is the footing I like to see. Bent knee, and he's going to be shuffling these feet forward, driving the knees up, pushing forward, and trying to get for a strong push. Tsurugisho, like I said, is big, has some decent defense, but he doesn't really know how to fight Hokutofuji here. He does attempt a pretty good slap down, but because Hokutofuji had some good footing, kind of can't see it through the gyoji here, the gyoji blocking the entire view. But Hokutofuji does catch himself, and we can surmise from all the other sumo videos we've watched, his feet are probably something like this underneath his body. It's being twisted, so the center of gravity is mostly in line with his feet, so he's just going to be able to spring back up into Tsurugisho, who is still attempting this pullback slap down move, pulling away, and it doesn't work out for him. So Hokutofuji in turn tries to go for a pullback, which against a bigger dude like Tsurugisho is kind of risky, but Tsurugisho, you're going to notice his feet can't keep up with the rest of his body. More weight, more momentum going forward. Hokutofuji pulling that body away, slapping down both hands to the back of the head, and he's going to use that good footwork, like I said he has earlier, to pull back away and get the spin on the Tawada, as he usually does. Watch the feet on the Tawada here. Watch those heels. He never touches the sand. This is similar to how he won against Takanosho, his own pullback move, and he stays up while Tsurugisho falls on his belly, and we can actually get some pretty good freeze frames here because we can advance frame by frame. And, that heel up on the Tawada, the knee touches, the heel still up on the Tawada, the entire body touches, the heel still up on the Tawada, and then he's eventually going to, this is where he touches. You can barely see it, but the sand gets kicked up right here. But by this point, Hokutofuji has already won. So another good pulling attack from Hokutofuji. Again, really showcasing his fantastic footwork, probably some of the best footwork out of any sumo wrestler in the top division, which that is an assertion I would maintain. Definitely top 5 footwork. Kongo was a little confused because it looked very close, and it was, but Hokutofuji is no stranger to close matches like that. Now we have his match against Takayasu, who I mentioned earlier in the video. This is an opponent he would usually lose against. Former Ozeki. He has a pardon me. Takayasu has 13 wins to, at this point, Hokutofuji's 8 in the head-to-head, so a little bit closer than I would have imagined, but still edge towards Takayasu here. But this was also at the start of Takayasu's complete collapse, probably fighting injured. I don't know. Well, there hasn't been any news because, they're never talking about this kind of thing, but, no news on Takayasu, whether or not he was fighting through injury. But this match against Hokutofuji at this point 6-1. Again, still not too out of the ordinary, but this is where I expected him to start losing. I saw, okay, he's fighting Takayasu. Takayasu also started off really strong this tournament. In my mind, I was thinking Hokutofuji is going to lose this match. And boy, was I wrong. So to start, Hokutofuji getting to the left, turning Takayasu. Takayasu trying to push up high. And it looks like Takayasu is the one in control until Hokutofuji gets inside on the chest. Now, the thing about this match was, it did look like Takayasu was in full control. Takayasu, he starts off with this elbow up to the face. He wanted to throw the forearm forward, but I guess he didn't scout his opponent because he also just hops forward a little bit with those feet, whereas Hokutofuji, he comes out to the side like he's doing all tournament. Gets a nice strong left hand up to the rib cage, but because of this right elbow and forearm to the face of Hokutofuji, that's going to allow Takayasu to create that pushback, that push away, that separation, and he's going to be the one to start pounding away at the chest, pounding away at the head, and Hokutofuji has to play defense here. So you could see, like, Takayasu, it looks like he might have had a grip on the ear or something, pushing and pulling that head back and forth, really manhandling Hokutofuji, which that's a word I've tried to get away from because I noticed myself using it so much. But this truly was Takayasu manhandling Hokutofuji here for just a little bit, even though Takayasu was stepping back, and even though Hokutofuji does get a pretty decent slap down on the hands, and even though it's just on the hands, you could see Takayasu stumbles forward, those hands go down, that back foot stumbles forward, and he's gonna try to keep pushing forward into the chest of Hokutofuji here. Hokutofuji lets him kind of stand back up. Hokutofuji does not continue the slap down assault, probably because he thought it might be too risky to allow Takayasu to get deep into the push. And this is where, again, I have my graphic up here, but the Abema graphic is just in the way. It is simply in the way. Like, sure, we could see the feet, but all the action is happening up here, so we can't exactly tell what's going on, which is kind of annoying. But it is what it is. All we need to know is that they are exchanging blows. Takayasu is starting to miss a few of his blows. You can see this one right here glances off the side of Hokutofuji's face as Hokutofuji retreats around to the side. You can see he's trying to reset himself against Takayasu. And then this is where, because Takayasu, again, he was in control, he was assaulting the chest, but he misses a blow up high, forced to wrap the head around the back, misses the blow to the side, forced to grab the arm as a defensive measure. But this is going to allow Hokutofuji push the head into the chest, push the arms into the chest, push the hips forward, and the knees are not as low and bent as you would really want to see, but that's going to allow him to drive forward because Takayasu, his opponent, is nearly stood up completely straight here. I mean, they kind of both are, but Hokutofuji has the inside leverage, and that's going to allow Hokutofuji to get the push forward. Hand up into the armpit of Takayasu, hand to the chest, and clean finish for Hokutofuji, 7-1 on the tournament.
We have liftoff, everyone.
And you can kind of hear Kongo. It's so funny. His microphone was like peaking, so it was cutting him off.
Fuji gets inside.
There he goes.
Let's go.
There he goes again.
We have
Man's
liftoff,
microphone
everyone.
troubles. Alrighty. So now here we have Hokutofuji versus Oho, which to me this was a puzzling match because why is someone doing so poorly being matched up against someone who's so well? And, oh, if he eventually wins the Yusho, then they're going to see this match and be like, oh, they gave it to him. It was rigged. I mean, people still say it's rigged anyway, but let's be real here. This was a match that I thought probably shouldn't be happening in the first place. In the head-to-head, Hokutofuji was 2-0 at this point. Oho did have something to fight for. He didn't want Make Koshi. Hokutofuji fighting to stay in that Yusho race at 7-1. And, well, let's just see what happens here. Fuji, big left step, big push up to the face, and
that is it.
simple Oshidashi.
Koshi for Hokutofuji.
Not really much of a defensive effort there for Oho. We can see the usual big step to the left. Going to use that to get a hand up, right hand up to the throat, left hand to the rib cage. And it's kind of funny because this was a style that, when Takanosho was still Sekiwake and got his own Jun-Yusho and special prizes, this was a style that you would see Takanosho do. Right hand up to the throat, left hand to the chest, big step out to the left. And I have to wonder if Hokutofuji adopted this from Takanosho or if this was something he came up, on his own. I mean, there are only so many ways you can do the Tachi-ai, but it is interesting to see similarities between sumo wrestlers not from the same stable. You know what I mean? Anyway, back into this action. Hokutofuji gets his usual strong start, and then after a strong push up high to the face, you saw the push to the face. Oho was, stumbling backwards because of that push to the face. Hokutofuji gets the second push low to the chest and stomach, and Quick and easy match for Hokutofuji. And again, that's another phrase I wanted to get out of my regular, quick and easy, because these matches are not easy. That one looked easy. Sumo matches are not easy, but that one looked pretty easy. Let's see, Hokutofuji versus Tamawashi. Tamawashi was doing well in the tournament at this point, an outsider in the Yusho race now on what is it, day 10, and 6-3, not too bad for himself. From Maegashira 7, the head-to-head is pretty close. It was 10-8 in favor of Tamawashi at this point, and let's see how Hokutofuji does it. Hokutofuji, that usual step to the side. Tamawashi tries to pull back and away, but he slips. And this is, I've said it live. I probably said it during a lot of the matches during the tournament, but this is more a match that Hokutofuji, or rather that Tamawashi lost, than it was Hokutofuji winning. And that's part of the reason why they have losing techniques in sumo. Although this one was not called a losing technique, because it was called an Oshi Taoshi by Hokutofuji. But let's be real here. Hokutofuji gets his usual strong start. Outside left, right hand up to the throat, left hand probably to the rib cage, as it usually is, and you can see the left hand slipping in under the armpit. Tamawashi delivers a strong blow up to the face of Hokutofuji right there, but the follow-up to it is going to be him trying to get a grip on the arm, slap down, pull back, Kataskashi attempt kind of, but then that foot's going to slip out from underneath him. And there's not really much you could do about that. Like, I want to go back frame by frame because I don't want to go back to the start of the match, but this left foot simply slips out from underneath him. You can see he misses the slap on the back of the head, and he still has a grip on this arm, but this right foot, he just kind of misses the ground right here. When he tries to go for that slap back, and he only really pulls himself back, this foot seems like it just misses the ground. Just barely misses, and Hokutofuji was there for the follow-up, but he had already hit the ground at that point. So Tamawashi, Slippy Otoshi.
Went right out from underneath them, and Hokutofuji
9-1, but we've seen this before. Again, the last time he started off this strong, he ended up going 10-5, and here is Waka Motoharu, who needed to win out if he wanted to get Ozeki at this tournament. And this is where I reasonably deduced that Hokutofuji would probably start losing and fall out of the Yusho race, because, oh look, here he is against a Sekiwake. Sure, he may have beat Takayasu, but at this point Takayasu fell to like 5-6. So we were like, okay, maybe he's fighting injured. But here it's like, okay, he's fighting Wakamoto Haru. Tomorrow he has Hoshoryu. He's going to start losing. Like, in my mind, there was no doubt he was going to start losing. So from here,
Fuji down first again. Goes at it.
Wakamoto Haru takes the charge. Nearly got the slap back there, but now maintains the grip inside left on the belt. Hokutofuji trying to push forward, but the grip is just too strong from Wakamoto Haru. And now Wakamoto Haru is on the push. Hokutofuji can't really stop the grip, even though he has the double grip on the belt as well. Getting locked into a stalemate here, trying to push forward, but great defense from Wakamoto Haru into a strong push forward for the win. And so there are a couple of important beats here that, up until that point, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but the beat itself is more important than the things that lead up to it. So the first Tachi-ai right here, it's a great strong start for Hokutofuji, turns Wakamoto Haru to the side. Wakamoto Haru right here, nearly got the slap down on the arms right here, but fantastic. Like, look at this low stance. It looks like he's already ready to do the Yokozuna Dohyo Iri with his stance right now. Wide stance, low to the ground, and manages to catch himself. This is the first important beat of the match. Hokutofuji catches himself here, and then continues the drive forward. He wraps this left arm inside around the back. The right arm attempts to go for the rib cage, maybe the belt here, but he's going to drive forward from here, and Wakamoto Haru is going to stance up. He's going to get his feet dug into the ground. He's going to lock in his own inside left. Hokutofuji reciprocates it by locking in his own inside left, and this is where Wakamoto Haru is going to start taking control. Wakamoto Haru actually wiggles away from the left grip on the belt. He wiggled his hips, gives up the outside right, but now Hokutofuji doesn't have the inside left. He's going to put this foot forward to try to throw Hokutofuji here, which that doesn't really work because Hokutofuji just pulls his hips back and away, and Wakamoto Haru gets re-squared up on. Fuji switches the footing and regains the inside grip, but look at what Wakamoto Haru is doing here. He dips the hips low so he can try to drive them up, really doing his squats right now, trying to drive up, trying to push Hokutofuji up, whereas Hokutofuji legs kind of straightened, looking for defense, trying to stop himself in the middle of the ring. It's going to be very difficult from this position until he does make it to the Tawada, in which they reset back to the middle of the ring. Hokutofuji tries to rock back and forth, but Wakamoto Haru is strong right here too. That was another, watch the right leg of Wakamoto Haru as Hokutofuji attempts to push. This is incredible leg strength. He stops the push from Hokutofuji. This left foot isn't even on the ground. He stops it all in these legs right here. Look at these freaking legs, dude. And by that, I mean just the one. Big defense on this right foot in the middle of the ring. He does not pull back the right foot to try to, stop the slide. He does not get up on the tippy toe to try to push himself in. He digs this entire foot into the ground and says, no, you're not moving me. He drives a stake into the clay and says, you are not moving me right now. Hokutofuji can't get the push, tries to go for the throw with the outside right, but Wakamoto Haru has the grip on the inside left, the outside right himself, and it looks like Hokutofuji had exhausted all of his strength at this point. Wakamoto Haru gets the Yorikiri victory, and from here, again, I thought, okay, Hokutofuji's going to start losing. And, despite the fact that Wakamoto Haru had a bad end to his tournament, you can really see the difference between him and the rest of the pack with LeoDSumo like that. That was great LeoDSumo. Wakamoto Haru may have ended with a 9-6, might have to reset his Ozeki run. I mean, he could still get it with a 14-1, but that was really. Next up, Hoshoryu versus Hokutofuji. Again, at this point, I see the record. I see, Hoshoryu is 5-0. Hoshoryu is the Sekiwake. Hoshoryu is trying to, he's in this Yusho race now. He's going to want the win. He's going to want the Yusho and the Ozeki promotion. I was 99% sure Hoshoryu was going to win this match. So maybe I jinxed him. Sorry about that, guys. But Hoshoryu, Hokutofuji with his usual outside left start, pushes forward, does not let Hoshoryu get the belt, and again, the footwork. And, we covered this match when last week during Hoshoryu's video, but this week we're telling it from Hokutofuji's perspective. Hokutofuji starts off with his usual strong outside left, and the most important thing here is that he keeps the pressure inside up to the chin, the chest. I wanted to say those two words at the same time. Up to the chinest, and up to the face. And that keeps Hoshoryu away from the grip on the belt. Hoshoryu not being able to get a grip on the belt as a LeoDSumo guy. Pretty good start from Hokutofuji. Hokutofuji continues to deliver some solid blows. You saw him get a nice shot to the ribs, puts the hands up on the shoulder. He pulls this one hand up and away, though you can't see it through the stupid ass Abema overlay. And then he tries to follow up on this attack by delivering another strike up high to the chest. And on the retreat here, Hoshoryu, again, like in the match against Tamawashi, it's just the slip. And there's not much you can do about it. I'm a little bit in the way, but now you can see it. That foot just slips right on out. And again, we covered this in the Hoshoryu video already, but this is more Hoshoryu losing than it is Hokutofuji winning. But I still think, even if Hoshoryu's foot hits the Tawada, he doesn't have enough room to attempt this slap down. You can see he's trying to go for a slap down here, but I think he would have just gotten stood up and pushed out by Hokutofuji anyway. You can't play with what ifs, though. You're never going to know for sure. Hoshoryu steps backwards out of the ring in a very rare lapse of ring awareness, a lapse of judgment, and that's going to give Hokutofuji his first win ever against Hoshoryu. Now, I don't think Hokutofuji would ever beat Hoshoryu again, and you can see that in the spoiler alert, the playoff. But Hokutofuji, this was his best shot to get a straight up victory, and it was kind of taken away from him, which feels bad, but I mean, he still gets the win, You can say that despite the a missed step from Hoshoryu, that's just sumo. This is still a legitimate win for Hokutofuji. In the same way the Tamawashi win is a legitimate win. That's just part of the game, part of the dohyo. Sometimes the dohyo is slippery, sometimes it's not. And, as a referee myself, we have to learn to make a lot of excuses as to why, game states change and why we have to change our rulings and that kind of thing. And, the grass is wet, so the ball's going to move faster. You're going to slip and fall. So if we see a slide tackle and you slide 30 feet too far, well, you're still going to get fouled for sliding into the wrong person, Or, the ball, it's a dry day out. The ball is pretty hard. It's going to be an aggressive game, whatever. I'm trying to draw parallels to the sumo, but the same thing applies. Like, the Gyoji gets in the way sometimes, like the referee gets in the way in a bunch of other sports. The clay itself is sometimes slipperier or drier or has different conditions on it. That's just part of the game. And here, the mistake wasn't from a change in the dohyo, it was a mistake made by Hoshoryu. And me personally, I would rather win on my own merit than win by taking advantage of an unforced error from my opponent. And I mean, at the end of the day, a win is a win. So that'll bring us into the next match. It is going to be Hokutofuji versus Endo, which at this point of the tournament, Endo was 8-5, or 8-4 rather. And this could have been a closer match. Maybe they expected Hokutofuji to lose 9-3. Endo would have been. Let me actually see Endo's record from this tournament. Endo, if he had won yesterday, would have been 9-3 as well. So they probably expected that to happen and didn't expect a 10-2 versus an 8-4. So again, you have to look at the context behind why they put certain people against each other. And it's because as of, the start of the previous day, Endo was in the Yusho race. But things changed. The schedule now, it looks easier. It looks like, they're throwing Hokutofuji a bone, throwing him up against a Maegashira 16. But, they both could have been 9-3 today. Again, you can't really talk about the what-if scenarios because that's not how real life works. But anyway, a solid opponent in Endo. The head-to-head at this point was 11-11, so this could stand to be a good match anyway. A nice rivalry match between Endo and Hokutofuji. Fuji starts as normal, attempts to slap down from the middle of the ring, doesn't get it, but the follow-up push is there. And that was basically full control from Hokutofuji. So this match starts off pretty well for him. He gets his usual outside left step, and instead of attacking the rib cage, it looks like he's forced to attack and grab the arm here, which he adapts this grab into a slap down to the back of the head. He pulls the arm up and away to the back of the head as he attempts to pull back and away and slap down.
Big charge
Even
for
though he doesn't get it on that first push, and Endo actually catches him with this arm right here to keep himself afloat in the match. Endo, like all this pressure to the back of the head, all that pressure, you know, leaning forward on top of Endo. Endo does a really good job. Like, watch the footwork. It's not the best, but he keeps his balance, keeps his footing. And, I mean, maybe he hit the ground right here anyway? Let's actually go back. Oh, he doesn't hit the ground there. It's not like Tobizaru versus Hoshoryu. But he does not hit the ground here. Like, you can see he pulls his arms up from the ground, which is kind of interesting. But, I mean, he's already in such a bad position that Hokutofuji, the follow-up, all he needs to do is, you know, attack the side, attack the head, continue pushing forward. Endo is going to be way off balance and just get the push out. And that's exactly what he does. Gets the outside left grip on the belt. And Hokutofuji 11-2 at this point of the tournament.
But it was not meant to be. Hokutofuji 11 wins.
Hokutofuji versus Hakuoho in what was a very high stakes, high intensity match. Hakuoho 10-3, the rookie. I didn't know what to expect coming into this. Hokutofuji 11-2, the veteran. A battle of the old versus the new, and it kind of feels bad to call Hokutofuji the old, but you know, that's what this is. 10-3 versus 11-2. And I mean, everyone was hyped up for Hakuoho. We were hyped up for Hokutofuji as well. Very interesting way to end the tournament. Maybe with another Maegashira or, you know, Hoshoryu pulling it together at the last second. But let's just get into the match. I think this match was in the top 10 videos that I posted back on Wednesday. Hokutofuji doesn't get the slap to the side, instead opts for a grip underneath the arm, and now they are stalemated in the middle of the ring here. Hokutofuji doesn't have a grip on the belt, while Hakuoho does. Hokutofuji looks like he's getting a bit lazy with that right arm, though. He knows he can't pull up the arm away from his belt, so I'm not sure what he's going to do here. I think he's thinking about conserving his energy. And it usually, yep, there's a leg kick attempt right there. Locking in the left inside on the belt for Hokutofuji, who tries to push forward. Hakuoho nearly lost his footing right there, but Hokutofuji couldn't pull him back and away fast enough. Hakuoho pulling himself back in. And this is where, if someone makes the first move, usually they're the one who loses. Hokutofuji tries to reach for the outside right on the belt. Now he does twist around Hakuoho, pushing forward chest to chest, but Hakuoho gets him at the edge.
It's blown up.
So there are a lot of parts you could skip, you know, just them sitting together like this. But again, there are going to be a lot of important beats as this match goes on. To start, Itachi Ai. He gets the inside left like he usually does, but he doesn't attack like he normally does either. He doesn't go for the rib cage and the face. He tries to wrap this around the back immediately. So from the start, Hokutofuji wanted this LeoDSumo match. Gets the grip up inside underneath the armpit, because that's how Hakuoho is locking it up. And from here, turns it around, and now they're exchanging grips on the arms. Like I said, at live speed, Hokutofuji only has grips underneath the arms right now. And he's going to give up this grip on the right side because it's not pulling Hakuoho's arm up and away from the belt. That's locked in. He's not going to be able to try to break this grip at all. So Hokutofuji, he is going to try to find a way to get back into this match. But we'll skip ahead just a little bit. They change the camera angle. They zoom in on the bellies. And it's at this point, it's Hakuoho that goes for a leg kick attempt. You saw him slap the belt and then pull up this way. He's trying to shift the hips, but he doesn't get the leg kick. He doesn't wrap the leg around Hokutofuji's leg. So this throw attempt is a fail throw. And you can even see the way he kicked his leg super far back. That's because he expected it to wrap around the leg, and it's kind of like that feeling when you're falling asleep and you think you're falling off the bed, so you kick your leg. It's kind of like that, where it just overextends, you go too far, and it's like, whoa! So, or maybe a better comparison is when you're walking up the stairs and you expect there to be another step. So when you take that step and then let go, and then your foot just, the rest of you falls, it's like, huh. You know what I'm talking about? That's what looks like happened to Haku Oho right there. So then they continue to opt for this stalemate a little while. They both have inside lefts locked in on the belt. Hokutofuji trying to push forward, trying to switch the grip to the inside right. Didn't work right there. And then they're going to be stalemated for a little bit while longer. And this is where, again, Haku Oho looks like he's the one going for a move here, attempting another throw, but he loses the inside left on the belt. Hokutofuji using this arm push forward, not sure what the left arm is doing because we can't see it through the rest of the body, but this is where you would think Hokutofuji trying to go for the throw there around the arm. Haku Oho resets, re-squares up, tries to keep his stance looking at Hokutofuji the entire way. This left foot is very far back. I was just saying earlier in the video how I don't like that kind of defense with one foot super far back, because then you're kind of exposed to being pulled down. But Hokutofuji, he's seeing red. He's on the push. On the push. No, solid hands up high on that push, but Haku Oho, you're going to see he gets the grip to the side. He's going to kind of slip out and away. Hokutofuji, this left inside is going to slip away from him as well, and he doesn't have the best push here. He's pushing the shoulder into the chest, whereas Haku Oho is pulling away at the back, and Haku Oho, despite a good dive from Hokutofuji, Haku Oho is going to stay up on his heels. Hokutofuji is going to fall, and that blows the Yusho race wide open going into day 15. And again, this was very solid back and forth from both sumo wrestlers. It was a good LeoDSumo match, but I have to wonder if from the onset, going for LeoDSumo was what Hokutofuji really wanted to do, because it looks like he immediately goes for the grab off the Tachi instead of his usual attack at the chest. And it is a bit confusing to me why he would want to do that when the entire tournament so far has been an attack on the chest and an attack up to the throat. Because he immediately takes the defense with his right arm, trying to pull the left inside up and away from Haku Oho and wrapping this left arm around the back for LeoDSumo. It's unusual, but he still gets the win anyway. Can't tell you what might have been going through his head. Could be something like, I want to throw him off guard because I know he might be watching my film, so I want to try something different. Could be something like that. Could be a bit of pride, like, oh, he's younger than me. He's not going to expect me to go for a LeoDSumo battle or something like that. I don't know. Who knows what might have been going through his head. But I think from the onset, going for this type of match was a mistake for Hokutofuji, and that's part of the reason why he lost in the first place.
11 wins. Hokutofuji's
Let's see,
22.
getting into this one now. Hokutofuji, what was on the line here was if he wins this match, he forces a playoff for the Yusho. If he loses. And Nishikigi pushes himself up into a Jun-Yusho. Now, the arc Nishikigi had was the opposite of a usual Hokutofuji arc, where Nishikigi defeated everyone above him and then started losing, whereas Hokutofuji beats everyone around him and then starts losing against people higher than him, which is a bit of a funny mirror to have on this final day, day 15. At this point, it was an even 5-5 in the head-to-head. Nishikigi doing so well in the tournament, but having this last second collapse. Unfortunate to have, unfortunate to see, but, such is life under the Great Shogun. Nishikigi down first. Hokutofuji looking his opponent in the eye. Gets to the side as he usually does, that left hand assault on the chest, and Nishikigi simply slips back and collapses under the pressure. So, again, his usual start. Left foot out to the side. Left hand attacking the ribs from the side. Right hand, can't really tell, but I have to assume it's up in the face of Nishikigi. Turns around Nishikigi, and then we can see, yes, that right hand is indeed at the face. And now he's pushing up into the armpit, trying to control the arms of Nishikigi, who is pushing at the face of Hokutofuji himself. Hokutofuji has a lower stance. You can see his shoulders are lower, his knees are driving forward, whereas Nishikigi, his defensive stance, that leg looks perfectly straight, and then the back leg is the one that looks bent. Can't really tell from here, but this is a bad defensive stance to have if you're Nishikigi, even if he is about to pull this foot back around and attempt a slap down to the back. But I mean, that is what he tries to do. He doesn't really commit to it. It was just one small push to the back of the neck. And now Hokutofuji completely turned around. Look at this bullfrog stance here. Big thighs, big quads, sprung up, ready to jump straight into the chest of Nishikigi, who is standing straight up to accept it, basically. And then, after the strong push, those legs just slip out from behind. So, even if Nishikigi didn't slip there, he would have been probably Oshi Taoshi'd out of the ring anyway. So, another solid win from Hokutofuji, really showing up this tournament. Again, against a Maegashira 1, I would have expected a loss, and then against the Maegashira 17, I would have expected the win, but either way, he gets to 12 wins. He forces the playoff, and at this point now, it is Hokutofuji versus Hoshoryu in the match for the Yusho. And like I said earlier, if Hoshoryu does not make that mistake, then I do believe he stays undefeated against Hokutofuji.
Fuji down first.
Now, final match of the tournament, Hoshoryu versus Hokutofuji. We know what the stakes were. We know what the storyline is. We know what happens. But I think this is a disappointing match. At the end of it all, this match was disappointing. Sure, it is exciting to have a match for the Yusho in the first place in a playoff, but Hokutofuji did not perform well this match. He attempts to go for his usual left step, but Hoshoryu blocks it. He goes out to the right here, whereas Hoshoryu, attempting to go for his usual left, tries to attack the ribcage, and now he can't really attack the throat because the right arm is nowhere near the head. And because Hoshoryu does something really smart, he puts his head to this side of Hokutofuji, so that right arm, if he wanted to attack the throat, would be cutting across Hokutofuji's body in a bad and awkward spot. And that's something we don't talk about as much, is the positioning of the head in sumo. It's because it doesn't really come into play that much, but in a situation like this, Hoshoryu pulling his head to the side of Hokutofuji away from the hand that would be attacking the face, that matters. That is something that absolutely matters in this match, and that's what helps Hoshoryu win it. Hokutofuji tries to, actually, this is a funny looking dip. He dips the hips back, and that actually forces Hoshoryu to swing for the belt and completely miss. Swing and a miss, strike one. But Hokutofuji, he doesn't really have a strong push forward afterwards because he dipped himself back. He didn't have any momentum going forward, so now he just kind of stands back up lazily in the middle of the ring, and that allows Hoshoryu to pull that arm back, go for another grip on the belt. Doesn't get the grip there. Hit and swing and a miss, strike two. But now Hoshoryu does get the grip under the armpit. They're hand fighting inside on the left side. Hokutofuji attempting to attack the shoulder. Don't really know what he's trying to do there. His head down low into the chest. That's a good position to have. Right hand probably up to the rib cage, up to the chest. That's another good position to have, but Hoshoryu is trying to block it with his own inside left. And from here, Hokutofuji, he pulls away and then attempts another big charge straight at the chest from the middle of the ring. And then after that, because he didn't get any kind of push, attempts the pull back and away, but he just doesn't have it. Hoshoryu was never off balance in order to go for an attack like this. He tries to go for the slap down to the back of the head, and I don't know what his inside right is doing. What is he trying to do with his arm? Is he trying to parry this this left attack from Hoshoryu? Is he trying to get another grip on the face? I don't know what Hokutofuji is trying to do here, and frankly, I don't know if he knew what he was trying to do either, but he attempts a pullback and just lets Hoshoryu pull right through him. Hoshoryu does a little flex at the end there, just boom. Does the flex at the end. And overall, not a bad tournament from Hokutofuji. I mean, of course, 12-3 playoff loss, Jun-Yusho, special prize. Not a bad tournament. But I mean, if this is the new style of Hokutofuji we're going to be seeing, I look forward to it. But, if some of these matches where people slip don't go his way, he finishes 10-5 again. If Tamawashi doesn't slip, if Hoshoryu doesn't slip, if again, we can't really play with what ifs, and I don't like to do that. But, he easily could have been 13-2, easily could have been 10-5, So that's the thing for Hokutofuji. I want him to get more consistent. I want him to just really hone this style of his. We mentioned that it was a two-stage rocket at the beginning of the video, because he would go for that second push in the middle of the ring. But honestly, after breaking it down, it was less of a two-stage rocket and more of just a more measured attack. He wouldn't go all out at the Tachi, and it was more like when the moment presented itself, that's when he would strike. A Viper. That's got to be a movie reference or something. But yeah, overall, fun tournament from Hokutofuji. I hope to see a performance like this again from him, because he is a hype sumo wrestler. That footwork he does, his defense at the edge is always fun to watch. His his sumo is not boring. There is a reason why I gave him the nickname when I first started watching, the Human Cannonball, but now that may just change. And from here, Hoshoryu won his first Yusho. Hokutofuji with a 12-3, probably going to make it back up to, Maegashira 3 or 2. But that's something we can discuss next Wednesday when I post my Guess the Banzuke video. We will be going over who I think will be moving up and down the Banzuke, whereas next Saturday we will be breaking down the new rookie Hakuoho and his sumo. And then, of course, there's going to be a little bit of a drought, so I think I'm going to try to fill in the days. Some more breakdowns maybe. We'll see. But and then until the end of August, there really isn't much sumo to talk about until the Banzuke actually drops. Then, of course, day one of the next Basho, that is going to be, let me check the calendar, September 9th in American time, September 10th probably in Japan time, and the next Basho is going to be here before you know it. So 1 month, 30 days until the next sumo tournament. And that is going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Hokutofuji's sumo. And now that we have noticed the intricacies of his style, see if you can point it out in the next sumo tournament. Be sure to spend your time here on Leo Dickinson Sumo, either here or on Twitch of the same name, where, if you get memberships, you can use emotes in the chat. I also try to make the live streams available for members only after the stream ends. But as you can see, some of them do get blocked because of a commercial playing music. But if you want to be a member, hopefully that commercial music goes away by the next Basho. It is the Takeda Deben commercial. So if they go back to Life as a Treasure, then maybe these VODs won't be blocked anymore, and you'll be able to catch all the sumo on your own time just by becoming a member for $1 a month. Of course, I would appreciate it if you wanted to be a member for $5 a month or even more than that, but I understand people have their own circumstances. You don't need to send me your money. You don't need to do anything you don't need to do. But I do thank you for your support in just watching this video and by getting to this part of the video in the first place. So have a good evening, and if you want to catch more of me, be sure to check out my variety Twitch channel or my variety YouTube channel, Leo Dickinson VT here on YouTube, Leo Dickinson TV on Twitch, and there's a story behind that. I am not smart. And that's going to be it from me. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.